attesting that you are a proud member of us. It is the reason some years or few months ago, we publicly and openly challenged an unfortunate statement made by a lawyer, a very known popular politician for that matter, that a journalist cannot be a president. Mr. President, I can assure you that we are very proud of you, and you have our full support. GJA, Your Excellency, is committed to collaborating with government to address attacks against journalists and other media practitioners through proactive solutions which will involve the security institutions, especially the Ghana Police Service. We want to call on government to support some few issues or challenges confronting us as a fraternity. Your Excellency, at our inauguration, which were duly represented by the Vice President and also the Minister of State in charge of communication, we call on you to support the medical treatment of one of our own, one Pius Asiedu. He is a journalist who was attacked, who was shot in the left leg while covering election coalition at Ablekuma Central in 2020. Your Excellency, he has gone through 4 surgeries and is still struggling to recover. We need you and we call on your good self. We have the assurance from the minister on that very day that we're going to do that. We'll be very grateful and happy to see that. This was done by an operative working at the presidency at the time. And it happened at the same Ablekuma North. Very unfortunate incident. And also remind you of your recent assurance to compensate victims of election brutalities. There are some few journalists and media practitioners involved who have also suffered such brutalities in recent years. Again, Your Excellency, the environment we find ourselves has made journalism to become a crime. We are all aware that journalism is a profession, and it's not a crime. And for that matter, most or some of our colleagues have also suffered occupational hazard in the line of duty. We want to appeal to your good self for compensation for such practitioners or journalists who have suffered injuries in the line of duty in the form of assault. And we have few here, but I know that when you permit us, we may officially write to you indicating all those who have actually suffered such internal injuries or physical injuries in the discharge of their duties. We have Mr. Latif Idrisu, who has been assaulted twice, one by the police, and the other one by tax of MPP. And I want to commend you, Excellency, that recently, with your intervention, the perpetrators of the recent attack on Latif Idrisu, in fact, one of the suspects was arrested, arraigned before court, and was remanded. This is a big success chopped in the fight against such impunities on the media. So we have Latif Idrisu, we have Erastus Asaridonko, we have Ohimi Teria, we have Theophilus Kwesi Enim Ejeyi, among others. Your Excellency, attacks have worsened Ghana's ranking on the World Press Freedom Index. We used to be number 1 and dropped to 3, a position we maintained for years till we started declining. This year, we are 52 out of 180 countries, dropping from 50th position last year. Ghana is now occupying the 8th position in Africa. We used to be among the top 3. A very sad and unfortunate development. And we call on you, good self, someone who understands the plight of journalists better, and as part of the fraternity, to find a cure or antidote to end this attack on journalists in order to improve on our ranking. Your Excellency, on the assault on journalists, respectfully, we entreat you to evoke your executive powers to enact a law to empower the security agencies to protect journalists. Since most of these attacks are premeditated and must be treated as aggravated offense. If we continue to treat all assault or attacks on journalists as misdemeanor, Your Excellency, it will not deter or serve as deterrent to others. It's the reason we call on your good self to invoke your office, your executive powers. I think EI, the executive instrument, will help in defining attack on journalists rather than treating it as misdemeanor. The GJA needs your intervention also to secure our land. The Press Center project, Excellency, in one of our private discussions, I made mention of it. This is a property donated to us by your predecessor, President Kufuor, over 20 years ago, under the leadership of our dear mom, lawyer, Giftiafe Dazi. We've been occupying this property for years. Just a few years ago, under the previous administration, we nearly lost the ownership of the place. Very, very interesting development. But for a united front and every voices, we would have lost that place. And I believe that it is time, Your Excellency, for you to help us secure the place through the land title and also the Press Center redevelopment. The project is long overdue. The media will be very grateful to you and your office. This will be a fine legacy you will leave behind for the Inky fraternity if we are able to secure the title and also ensure the development of the project within or under your tenure as president. We want to develop the place into an ultra-modern facility because the place is at a very prime location and want to make good use of it. Your Excellency, GJA needs government intervention also to save our dying state-owned media from collapsing. Ahead of election 2024, Your Excellency, the then presidential candidate, John Mahama, pledged at a media interaction at Kempinski Hotel to retool state media and bring life to it. You even promise that under no circumstance under your tenure will you privatize the state-owned media. So this is just a gentle reminder, Your Excellency, that the state-owned media is struggling, is dying, and we need you. Needs to be retooled, need to bring life into it, production challenges and all that confronting the state media. And I have, in one of our private engagement, raised these issues with you. Excellency, under the previous administration, we have what we called Media Capacity Enhancement Program, MCEP. This helped to build the capacity of journalists in terms of professional development, to ensure professionalism and adhere to standards. Unfortunately, due to funds, that project or program couldn't survive. We want to call on you. I know in your first administration, there was something around Media Development Fund. We want to create your indulgence and appeal to you and your office that it is important we establish the Media Development Fund to help build the capacity of journalists and the media in general, and also to even support the media in some aspect, in some times. We appeal to you, Your Excellency, for your support in the organization of this year's GJA Media Awards, your own awards. And also one challenge or one major need we would want you to help us tackle is that we need special awards for Journalists of the Year to serve as a motivational tool. Because what we have realized is that in the past, there were donations like vehicles, houses, and all that. In recent years, we don't get it. And so, Your Excellency, we will need you in that regard. And finally, in conclusion, I want to, on behalf of the National Executive and the National Council, respectfully invite you, Your Excellency, to grade this year's GJA Awards. Your Excellency, the GJA Award has been held in Accra for 28 years. This year, with my team in consultation with key stakeholders, I've decided to move the award from Accra to Kumasi. And, Excellency, I'm glad or I'm happy, so much excited to inform you that the King, Otumfuo Osei the second, has agreed to host the awards at Menchia this year for us. And so when we discussed, he said, go to the president, leave the date with him, let him let him confirm his availability and convenience, then we can firm it up. So, Your Excellency, we are hoping to host the award at the end of October or the first week of November, subject to your availability and convenience. On that note, I once again want to thank you for this wonderful reception and audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, GJA President. It is now my honor to invite His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana and member in good standing of the Ghana Journalists Association, to make his remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And let me begin by congratulating the executive for your recent election, and to say how pleased my government is to work with you the media. I've been a fellow traveler for quite a long time, and by virtue of my training as a journalist, I remember the early days when I did my internship in GBC, and Madam Afeni Dazi was the news editor. And I worked in the newsroom. That is when I practicalized my skill in story writing and all that. Our lecturer, Professor Karkari, was the one who taught us journalism, and I did my internship in GBC. Others were attached to Graphic, Ghanaian Times, and all the other news organizations. But in later years, I was to find myself on the other side, having entered politics and appointed as Deputy Minister of Communications by virtue of my training. And so it was a very interesting time. Comrade Kwesi Pratt, Kweku Bakun, and all of them had been in the fight for media freedom. They had been arrested and jailed several times. And eventually the 1992 Constitution had been written. And so the early years of opening up the media space, I got involved in that when I came into government in 1997. And by then the Radio Eye issues and things had all taken place, Tarzan and all the escapades. At the time I came in, things had settled down a bit, but people were still getting used to the new regime. Joy FM was there, Gold was there, Peace FM and Co had not yet come on stream. Yes, and these were more independent media, and their reporting could be quite uncomfortable. And so as Minister of Communications, first Deputy Minister and then Minister, I really had a hard time, containing government communications. But it was a good experience. I constantly had to go on programs to try and explain what government's position was. And it was not easy with the kind of boss I had. I mean, Flight After Rawlings, he was very unorthodox. And so sometimes he would go and say something, and I have to crack my head and say, now how am I going to explain this to? But somehow we managed to get through with it. And the media has come a long way since then. And I believe that the major catalyst for this has been the 1992 Constitution. It's been one of our most progressive constitutions in the history of Ghana, especially the inclusion of Chapter 12, specifically on the media, indicating media freedoms and what needed to be done to protect the media. And for the first time, licensing was taken away, so anybody could establish a media house without the kind of restriction that used to exist before. And so we've come a long way since then. But since then, a lot of things have changed. And one of the major changes in the media landscape is technology and the new media. And so we don't have traditional media as we knew it. In terms of media houses, you either had a newspaper publishing organization, or you had a broadcasting organization. The media has become a bit decentralized, and because anybody who has a phone and a camera can report news to the public. And it means that communications is dealing with a wider range of people, not only traditional, well-organized media houses, but also individuals, especially the new group called bloggers, who go to events with journalists and vie for positions with them to get the best shots and the best stories. And they just go with their phone, edit, and then they put the news out. So the media landscape has changed, and the sources of information has changed. And in many cases, it is those people who are setting the agenda, because for most of our stations in the morning, they're taking a lot of news from what 1957 covered or what GH something covered, and they have all these, their little inscriptions they put on their videos, and that drives the discussion in the morning. So they become a very important part of that segment, but are unregulated. And so sometimes they go to the extreme. The language is filthy. I mean, they can just, go to town, either insulting somebody or sometimes on the limits of hate speech. Yeah, and these are things that in the whole world, people are beginning to look at and say, how can we regulate hate speech? How can we regulate, extreme foul language, And so it's just an issue I'm raising so that all of us can begin to think about it. And the point is, would we classify them in the typical sense of journalists? I mean, those bloggers, are they typically journalists? Those are all questions that must agitate our minds. It has been, like the President said, we've seen a consistent decline in our ranking, international rankings, and that is an issue of concern for us. And part of it is because of issues to do with harassment of journalists, and even the unfortunate murder of Ahmed Swali, which caught international attention. And I think that since then, other incidents that have occurred have, diminished our ranking. And so we need to find a way of, one, ensuring that people, when they do that kind of thing, face sanctions or are punished. Because once there's no deterrent, they continue to do it. Or aside from that, to educate and create awareness that journalists are not enemies. They are reporting something that is happening. And so they must be given a free leverage to be able to do their reporting. Many times when I go to a function and I'm seated, I normally look at the way the journalists are being handled. And you find that there are some security personnel who just have a knack for harassing journalists. I mean, they are not harming anybody. They are standing, they are filming. Then somebody comes, you can't stand there, move, And I said, what have they done? So sometimes I have to shout and say, leave them, let them do their job, And so I think that we need to create awareness in the minds of these people. Some of them are police officers, some are military officers, some are national security, and especially national security, They don't have training to understand that, journalists are doing their work. You have the job of protecting the VIP or whatever. The journalists too have their work of reporting, what they doing their job and reporting what is going on there. And so we must find a way, and I told President that I'll want, Felix and the ministers of security agencies to create a certain forum where the Journalists Association and these security agencies can interact so that it sends a message to them that, look, journalists are not your enemies. They are there to do their legitimate job of informing the people, and so they are not subject to harassment. With regards to the state-owned media, they are caught up in what I described as the changing media. So because the landscape has changed and people get their information from more sources than before, it means that people are reading fewer newspapers. People are watching less of the traditional media and getting a lot of their information from short videos and bloggers and other things. And so it is not enough to just retool them. It will be important to retool them, but also see how they can enhance their production so that they continue to remain relevant. We can take best practices from abroad, from New York Times and Financial Times and all of that. I mean, they themselves have seen a drop in the actual purchase of hard copies, but then they have quickly switched to online and have very effective online subscriptions. And so they tease you with a very interesting story. And then when you open, you read a bit of it, then it stops. And then it says subscribe. Meanwhile, the story is interesting. You want to know exactly what is there. So then you can just press subscribe. Then it says, oh, 1 month trial. Pay this, you know. And so if you pay, then you become a subscriber. And then they keep sending you notifications and all that about new stories that are coming. So we need to adopt some of those practices. Graphic has a good online system, and I think that we can improve it. And we should follow suit with, you know, Ghanaian Times and all of them, so that we are taking the media to the digital age. But like I said, there's still a role for state-owned media, and we must protect the state. Some people say we should divest all of them and make them private, but I think that public broadcasting is not always commercial and profit-making. Yeah, I mean, who will do the local language education if GBC were not there? I mean, nobody who has a private station wants to do adult education in Ewe and adult education in Dagbani and things like that. It's GBC that will do it. But it's also important because there's a segment of the population who watch it avidly because it educates them on a lot of things. But I think we should also improve the programming so that it makes it more exciting and all that. People now want more illustration. And so just having people sitting there for 1 hour and talking and discussing something can get boring. They will tune off. But if they are discussing and you're showing literally what they are talking about, and this, it makes the program more interesting. So that's one of the things that we need to look at. Elections come with a lot of emotive feelings. And sometimes when people get very emotive, they can act very irrationally. And like you said, it's not only innocent bystanders and political activists who have been caught up in electoral violence. Journalists have also been caught up in electoral violence. I asked the IGP in the early days when I assumed the presidency to investigate the violence in 2020 and 2024. I wish to inform you that last week I received the investigative report on the two incidents, and they've detailed and catalogued everybody who was affected by the violence and what the circumstances were that led to the violence. We've handed it over to the Attorney General, so the Attorney General is going to go through, and if there's the need to hold some people culpable and bring them to book, the Attorney General will do that. But in addition, we have given him the terms of reference to look at what adequate compensation would be for people who have been the victims of violence, including those who died. Their families are still there, and then those who were, some have been injured and are living with injury. And so what is the adequate compensation that we can give to people like that? And so once that is done, I'm sure that if there were journalists involved, they would also be considered for compensation. With regards to the Media Development Fund, I mentioned to you that we're ready to resuscitate it. It was something that we initiated early, and then there was a confusion about how the fund was administered, and so it died a premature death. But I think that we're all more matured now, and we would put in a mechanism that makes it more transparent and easier for journalists to benefit from the fund. So I think that in next year's budget, under Government Communications Department, the fund will be activated and some money will be put in it. And what I believe is that between government and the GJA, we'll constitute a board of trustees that will indicate how the fund should be utilized. And finally, I'm surprised that you still don't have land title for the press center land. It's unfortunate because this land was donated more than 20 years ago. And I think that all of us were very proud and appreciated the gesture that President Kufuor did in giving the press center. We have had events there many times, and I've been at the press center to witness events and even participate in some events. So I think that the time has come for us to get the Lands Commission to process that so that in future nobody can come and take it away from you. So that in future nobody can come and take it away from you. So let's work on that, but also look at the designs and costings you've made for developing that. And I think that government will be prepared to lend you a hand in developing the structures that you want. I'm sure not only government, there are many institutions, corporate institutions out of their CSR that will be willing to chip in order to create a modern, a GJA press center for Ghana. Because, I mean, it's not only for your use, it is for the use of the whole nation. And so it's something that we'll encourage. So these are the few things that I'll say. But what I want to commit to you is that we're going to work together with you to make sure that we improve our rankings again in the international rankings so that Ghana resumes its pride of place as the beacon of media freedom, not only in West Africa, but in the whole of Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for those compelling words. At this stage, we would bring the program to a close, but not without thanking you sincerely for showing up and having this interaction with the President. As he has indicated, government remains willing to work with you to find common ground on the issues that matter and the issues that will lead to the development of the media space and journalistic practice. I also hope that this becomes the first of many such interactions, which will then afford a platform to discuss matters that are relevant to the work that you do. Thank you all once again for coming. Yes, we are good. Yeah. Okay.
Let us see the budget for the awards ceremony. Give it to Felix, and then we'll see what we can contribute to it.
Absolutely. So I'll wait for the budget. So, but when we step out, we'll take a group photograph to commemorate this important occasion. Thank you very much.
Right, so that was the GJA calling on President Mahama. A number of issues that the GJA requested from the president was to evoke an executive instrument to stop attacks on journalists. They also appealed to the president for compensation for journalists who have been attacked in the line of duty. They also appealed to the president to secure the press center land that was given to them under former President John Agyekum Kufuor. They've also asked the president to re-establish the Media Development Fund and set up a special award for Journalists of the Year to motivate winners. And in turn, President John Dramani Mahama mentioned that sometimes the language used by bloggers is a bit faulty. He also said that security personnel have a knack for attacking journalists. Another important thing that the president touched on was that there's still a role for state-owned media and that they just need to adapt to the growing times. And he tasked the IGP when he assumed office to investigate the violence that marred previous elections. And the report, he said, had been handed over to him, which he had in turn handed over to the Attorney General to act on, and adequate compensation will be given to families of the victims who died in those incidents. He also mentioned that the Media Development Fund will be resuscitated, and in next year's budget, the fund will be reactivated and guidelines given for that particular fund. In all, he mentioned that they will begin to he assured the GJA that they will work hand in hand to improve our press freedom ranking. We return back to normal programming. I'm Inu Safo. Thanks for watching.
Also a member of the Council of State, indicating a number of things, including the fact that where she was involved in this particular issue regarding the former Chief Justice, Gertrude Sabatukono, and in her view, to the extent that all of these, the threshold in her view was not met. Talking about a committee being established was out of the question. Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner joining us on Zoom right now. Counsel, you've seen and heard the former Chief Justice, who's a member of the Council of State now, Sophia Akufo, specifically indicate her position on this, and the fact that, in her view, the gravity or the gravamen of the offense does not in any way warrant the punishment or the action of the removal of the Chief Justice, because from where she sits, the threshold was not met. Does that argument have any merit as well from what you observed every step of the way in the matter relating to what led to the removal of the Chief Justice?
Well, Mr. Okansi, it pains me that tonight I have to disagree violently with my beloved Sophia Akufo. Yeah, it's painful, but well, when it comes to the national interest, just as she was candid, even though, I mean, that's her opinion, and even though she's a member of the Council of State, that's the same way I have to be brutally frank with my beloved Sophia Akufo, former Chief Justice. I totally disagree with Justice Sophia Akufo. What happened cannot be considered as trivial. I heard that. Did you hear the word trivial?
Essentially, the description she put to it, that
Yes.
I mean, it wasn't weighty. It says the gravity doesn't meet the threshold.
Yeah, yes, we can't say that. To be honest, we can't. And so, with the way our beloved Sophia Akufo is put it, one is left with a very strong impression that that was the same way she was running the system. Yes, a very strong impression. It's good. It's good. And I'm sure for me, coming from me, you all know that I love Sophia Akufo to bits. Every Saturday when I sit down, I'm always lauding her on the Key Points program, always extolling her virtues. So if you see me disagreeing with her today, then it means that it's a serious matter. Our dear Sophia Akufo, no, this is not trivial. Please, people have gone to jail for stealing plantain, cocoyam, fowls, etc. So, and how much is plantain? 100 Ghana, 200 Ghana, etc. I mean, misconduct involving per diem that runs to $10,000 at a go, $10,000 at a go, etc. Even today, how much is $10,000? $10,000 today, even the interbank rate, you call it roughly 105,000 Ghana. I know the interbank rate has gone up a bit, but I'm using a conservative rate. 105,000 Ghana. You know, if you divide even by 12 months, you know how many Ghanaians don't make, thousands of Ghanaians don't make 105,000 Ghana a year. And here we are talking about two trips that just stuck on no date, one with her husband and then the other with the daughter. right? So, and also you look at the tickets that were bought. Please, this cannot be trivial. This cannot be said not to hit the threshold. Let's remember, and I see I'm talking street alongside law. The people in the street are very upset because they say, we in the street, we steal a fowl, we go to jail. We steal a goat, we go to jail. We steal plantain, we go to jail. I remember about 3-4 years ago, I was on Joy FM News File. A young man, a barber, whose wife had just given birth and he didn't have money. It led him to steal, what was it? Was it a goat? Something like that. Across the table during the News File program, we had to contribute to get this barber out of jail because his wife had just given birth, fresh baby. Then later, other people contributed to, get him a barbering salon, etc. The stories are countless. So the more people hear that our own beloved Sophie Kufu is saying that these are not weighty matters, then the more they get angry. Please, these are very serious matters. The money is weighty. It's weighty. You see, when she says it's not weighty, one other thing that we must also hit with all the strength we can and get reforms is that she's right. These are trivial. These are not weighty. When you compare to what our ministers, presidents, etc. get, that is where the fight is. But unfortunately, the law is the law. This policy, I have seen a document now making the rounds about Justice Sophia Kufu's evidence when she went to the committee, when she went to testify. That policy was in place when she was Chief Justice. I hear some sources say that she also even had either she introduced it or helped to put it in its current shape. And one of the questions in cross-examination, they asked her, when you are going on a private visit as a Chief Justice, then you can only take the security along. Is that correct? And Madame Sophia Kufu said yes. Yes, if we have time, those pages I can read. I've just been reading.
Yes, I mean, that we'll definitely have a much more expanded conversation on this in the coming days. So that will detail. Yes, I've seen that as well, but we'll put it all in compact form for that conversation ahead of us in the coming days. But then again, I think there's a clear establishment that, yes, there was some wrongdoing. If you listen to her, she acknowledges that there was some wrongdoing, but these are her words, that in her honest and candid view, that decision that has been taken as a result of this wrong has weakened the institution of the judiciary. The former Chief Justice, in the view of Sophia Kufu, did not get a fair trial. That even though it is not a trial, strictly speaking, it was handled as though it were a treason trial. These were descriptions of what happened. Kazo?
No, I disagree once again. If anything at all, this case is rather strengthening the judiciary, making the judiciary more accountable. That, okay, the public is watching every step of the way, how we use public funds. So the judiciary are to set an example for society to follow. You know, there are 3 professions in this world, right? Law, prostitution, and then divinity. That's the pastors, right? 3. So we are, and amongst these 3, they will tell you that law is the primus inter pares. So we are setting an example for the rest of the nation that when it comes to the judiciary, the standards are very high. It doesn't matter that it's a Chief Justice. So rather, I tell you honestly, this case is rather strengthening the judiciary, meaning that we should return to the straight and narrow. The days where the Chief Justice had levity with the public kitty are gone. And as I've said, Mr. Okansi, let's stress the point that, let's stress it. In all of this, I get the strong impression, just like Sremsai said, that our beloved Justice Sophia Kufu is saying these things because it appears that's how she ran the system. You see, and I'm sure even, look, let's make further points. If you go into the audit report where these things that were put before the committee, they were flagged by auditors, okay, the Auditor General's report. you will see that another previous Chief Justice also broke the rule and was asked that his wife returns the money. Please check. When the audit report came out privately, because you say we don't have time, I can't dig. But you see that Chief Justice was asked, his wife was asked to return the money. And as I'm saying, from what we are hearing through the grapevine, this practice didn't start today. So, if anything at all, the judiciary has been used as more or less, let's call it sacrificial lamb, to help to return to the straight and narrow, that we should make sure that we spend the public purse the way it has to be spent by law. Because once again, if you go to the hearing, the testimony of our beloved Sofekufu, and you all know that I love Sofekufu to bits, all right? My Yasantua, our Yasantua. You'll see that there's a part where she was asked in cross-examination that the policy that as Chief Justice they were using for travels, etc., right? That money they receive is contrary to what is in their letters of appointment. So what is coming out is that I didn't know. Well, we are all learning. Not knowing when the Chief Justice is sworn in, the Chief Justice is given a letter of appointment by the President. Is there any wonder that usually Chief Justices don't appear too independent? Because the President gives the Chief Justice a letter of appointment.
And you're asking that power be taken from the President?
Absolutely. And we started making this call in Akufo-Addo's time. And I didn't even start it. I know that previously, even from Kufuor's time. So I have just come to continue a fight that started over 20 years ago. The President gives the Chief Justice a letter of appointment. So is there any surprise what was happening? That the Speaker case, the Afenyo-Markin case, it was filed, and within an hour and a half, the Chief Justice had collected judges to sit on the case, etc. So back to this point, the point we are making is that at the committee hearing, Madame Sofekufu was asked that does she see that what is in the letter of appointment, the travel policy about the per diems to be received, is different from what the judiciary had set up, and she said yes. So, and we all know that the letter of appointment will supersede what they had set up in the judiciary. So this case is a classic masterstroke case of accountability of the judiciary taking the lead in making sure that we are resetting. This is a resetting agenda where we want to protect the public purse, not like somebody who came and by the time he was leaving, we had lost the public purse. We couldn't find it. Somehow, we have found a new public purse. And this time, we want to make sure that everybody is guarding the public purse. So please, we cannot say that these matters are not weighty. This is unnecessary. Please, no. No, I can't agree. Yes, what it is that I had said that we should allow Justice Tokonu to resign. And I still, Rana, it's too late. You know, I've been making that call.
You have been, and you were consistent about it.
Supreme Court decisions.
Absolutely.
Yes, we've referred to the Justice Derry case and the J. Chum case, where the Supreme Court said if they start these hearings, the respondent, in this case, Justice Tokonu, should not be allowed to resign. But I still believe strongly that if the statesmen like Kufuor, etc., had stood up and prevailed upon President Mahama, we could have had a political settlement. But let's say citizens didn't push enough for Justice Tokonu. It didn't happen. Okay?
There are others who also hold a different view. If you say citizens didn't push enough, because she herself, when she addressed the press conference, indicated that your proposal of she resigning for a political settlement, as you put it, was not even on the table. It's not an option, because if she had done that, she would have lost all her entitlements. Having been at the bench for over 20 years, I mean, juxtapose that with that decision or that proposal you make to her that, look, to avoid all of this, just resign. She said that was not on the table. She gave you the answer herself.
Yes, Mr. Kansi, I disagree once again. I disagree on two fronts. Look, as I told you, we're making those calls. You think if they had gone to President Kufuor, they had gone to Otumfuo, who again, as for Akufo-Addo, you know that I will support Akufo-Addo. Akufo-Addo would have made her case worse. Go to other statesmen. think if they had come together and then the media had leaked it, that, oh, these statesmen have stepped in, public pressure would have come upon President Mahama that, oh, I know Chief Justice Tokono, oh, Charlie, the first time, she's not the worst citizen, yet what she suffered is like the suffering given to the worst of our citizens. She's not a bad judge, not bad. As for this rule, this expenditure to that quarter, like we are saying, from every indication, she's not the only one to have breached these rules. Her predecessors have breached it, right? And there's record to show that her predecessors breached it. So you see where the sympathy is coming from. So I believe that, and we always knew this story that's come, we had heard it. So you see, this is what happened. Soon after the elections, when NDC won, it became clear that because of how Justice Tokono had handled the vacant seats matter, she had, created a lot of enmity for herself. You know, Speaker Bagbin had to respond to her publicly. Right. And Tadiosori, who is one of the lawyers for Daniel Ofori, wasn't treated well in the court. And you can go to YouTube and watch the proceedings, etc. So as soon as NDC won, but privately, we started saying that, look, it would be better for Justice Tokono to resign. She couldn't read the mood of the country. Right. The country wants a reset. You could see it, and you see it in the number of votes. Over 1.6 million for John Mahama that we threw out in 2016. Right. It should have been a strong message to Justice Tokono that resign. She held on. But even after the petition started, I still believe that if she had gone begging, asking people to intervene enough, it could have worked. Well, I believe it could have worked.
I see. Well, as you indicate, it's probably too late, but she did indicate that was not even, on the table for her. But I thank you very much. As I indicated, on Saturday, we have a conversation on this one. So reserve all the other references you sought to make for that big one. Thank you so much for joining us, Martin Bebo. Appreciate you.
Good afternoon and welcome to this special edition of The Pulse. My name is Elton Brobe, and today we're coming to you live from the office of the Ashanti Regional Minister. He is a medical doctor and a politician, young and vibrant, leading a very politically hostile region, but delivering on the promise made to Ghanaians by His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama. My guest this afternoon is Dr. Frank Amoakohene, the Ashanti Regional Minister. Dr. Amoakohene, you're welcome to The Pulse.
Thank you very much.
And it's really good to see you. You are everywhere, on social media, everywhere, and you are giving meaning to young individuals in leadership positions.
Precisely the point.
And sometimes I wonder the drive.
It's a privilege to get the opportunity to serve Ghana and, for that matter, Ashanti region at a very young age.
Right.
So it's an opportunity I don't want to take for granted. And I want to do it to the best of my ability so that we will have more reasons to include the youth in leadership. The reason for which you see me attending to almost every problem.
Yeah. And I mean, what did the president tell you before accepting this job?
I asked him directly what he needs me to do in the region. All he told me was that make me proud. So at any point in time, when I need to take any major decision, I just need to consult him. At times he asks of, what do you think? You are in charge of the region, what do you think? Then I run it by him. Once he's okay with that, I just go ahead and implement it to the best of my ability.
And then coming up here, I saw pictures of former regional ministers. I mean, Star Wars, some late, some still living, and you are fitting so well into their shoes. How difficult is it to lead a very politically hostile region like the Ashanti region?
So the first thing was to learn from those who have walked the path earlier. So you remember my first days in office, I had the opportunity of meeting almost all the former regional ministers.
Right.
And I took every single word they spoke and they uttered very seriously. But if not for anything, you can learn from their successes and their challenges so that you'll be able to overcome their challenges and also be able to improve on the vision they had and how to be able to survive in the region. And they have also equally been a good backbone, especially in able to consult them when there is a need to do so. Equally, His Excellency the President, though he's not directly in the region, but he's very experienced when it comes to matters of local government and public governance. So he's been there for me. I'm his last born, so anytime, every time, he has to make sure I'm on the right track. So far with that support, I've been able to navigate the challenges.
And sometimes are you careful with your steps because of the environment you find yourself in?
When you are too careful, you make mistakes. Be yourself. Live life as it is. And just be proud and know that the decisions you are taking are right. That is it. If you want to be too careful, you make grave mistakes.
But we are in the Ashanti region, a commercial hub. And so what is the vision as far as you are concerned? I know the government has its own plans, but you are leading it. What is the vision to make Kumasi what it used to be?
So in any space I have found myself, the first thing is to profile the space and look at the strengths and the weakness and the opportunities, as it were, SWOT analysis. This region is centered almost at the middle of the country. So those moving from the north to the south go through the region in a similar manner across east to west. So it means that we are unique in our diversity. And if someone is going to Accra to make a purchase of anything and find same in Ashanti, there is no need going all the way to Accra. It applies from all the other angles. So profiling the region, I realized that our trade industry within the local economy, our creatives, and then our agric areas. These are the key areas that makes us stand out. Of course, our culture.
Right.
So I needed to see how best I would be able to harness these strengths to be able to drive the other sectors as well. So if you've realized, especially the creatives areas and the culture aspect of the region, I don't belittle those areas, and I give them all the support I need to give, because once the region is on the map and it's in the news, people will want to find out what is really unique about the region, for which reason is always in the news. They will travel from all walks of life to come into the region. When they come, they'll definitely buy, they'll definitely spend. And once they do that, the local economy definitely grows. So these are things I looked at and the key areas we are paying attention to.
But there are issues of infrastructural deficits. There's Wankra, I don't even know when Wankra will be operational. There are health challenges in the region. What is the plan? Perhaps you can start with Wankra.
So with the infrastructural inputs in the region, what we have realized is that usually successive governments do not have the political will continuing projects by previous governments. His Excellency the President has been emphatic that irrespective of the government that started whichever project, is going to ensure its completion. The reason for which we see Krofru market and all these other markets and other infrastructure being worked on. Wankra work is still ongoing, and we are hopeful that we should be able to complete them as soon as possible. I don't have the timeline, so I would not want to give that detail. But from my interaction with the site manager and the contractor, work is still ongoing. And the challenges as they come up, I speak with the trade ministry and we are able to resolve them.
And as a medical doctor, I'm sure health delivery obviously will be one of your priorities. And before the election, the MPP administration commissioned what was to be one of the Agenda 11 hospital project. As we speak, is yet to be operational. The Afari Hospital, that's the military hospital, also yet to come into fruition. How are you leading to actualize it so that the pressure on Kwamfanoche is lessened?
Thank you. So you don't commission awaiting operationalization. I believe that if you are not done, you are not done. If you are done, you are done. Otherwise, you would encourage me to go and commission Krofru Market awaiting its operationalization. They were not done with any of that in the 111 hospitals. And clearly, when we started the administration, the Minister of Health came around. We toured all these hospitals, and they were not completed. Thankfully, we've been able to operationalize 3 of them. Pedie, Swami, and Robonso.
Okay.
Recently, I visited some few others that are under construction. Kokobin under the Ofurukro municipality, one at Ahafwano South East, another at Afano Southwest, Chimango North, and then the last one was at Echima Mpunia. These are the ones I have visited myself daily. The Minister of Health is committed in making sure that we complete these ones, because we were not so happy when they abandoned Afari, Sewua, and all the other hospitals, His Excellency the President Mahama started in the previous administration. So work is still ongoing in most of these hospitals.